There are people who seem to carry the world's light within them. They are the ones who always answer the phone, even at 3 in the morning. They are the ones who remember birthdays, who offer comfort without being asked, who always seem to have an endless supply of empathy. They are the reliable ones, the good ones, the kind souls. But if you look closely, if you really pay attention to the eyes behind that smile, you might see something else, a profound exhaustion, a weariness that sleep cannot cure, a subtle tension around the edges of their kindness, like a rope pulled too tight for too long. Others look at them and see virtue. They see selflessness. They think, I wish I could be that kind. But they don't know that behind that relentless giving is an incredibly complex and often painful inner world. They don't see the anxiety that fuels the constant need to please. They don't feel the quiet resentment that builds up after years of putting themselves last. And they certainly don't recognize that this celebrated kindness might actually be a sophisticated form of self-destruction. What is truly happening inside the mind of the chronically kind person? And why does the most beautiful human impulse sometimes become the heaviest burden? The first manifestation of this phenomenon is the inability to set boundaries. For the chronically kind person, the word no feels dangerous. It feels like a rejection, a failure, a confirmation of their deepest fear, that they are not worthy unless they are useful. When asked for a favor, their response is immediate, automatic, yes, of course. The internal calculation isn't, do I have the time or energy for this, but rather, how can I avoid the discomfort of disappointing them? This automatic yes is a reflex developed over years of prioritizing others' comfort over their own reality. They become experts at subphrasure. They will cancel their own plans, sacrifice their sleep, and take on emotional burdens that aren't theirs to carry, all in the name of kindness. But this isn't just about being helpful. It goes deeper, into a phenomenon called anticipatory pleasing. They don't wait to be asked. They are constantly scanning their environment for signs of discomfort or need. They become hypervigilant to the moods of others. A slight shift in tone, a furrowed brow, a moment of silence, the kind person immediately internalizes it. What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? They take responsibility for the emotional atmosphere of the room. If someone is unhappy, they feel it is their duty to make them feel better, even if the source of the unhappiness has nothing to do with them. This leads to a constant state of emotional labor. They are managing their own feelings while simultaneously trying to manage the feelings of everyone around them. Another profound characteristic is the struggle with authenticity. When your primary goal is to be agreeable, you learn to mask your true feelings. You might disagree with someone, but you nod and smile. You might be hurt by a comment, but you brush it off as a joke. You might have a preference, but you immediately defer to what others want. I'm easy. Whatever you want is fine. This constant performance of agreeableness creates a gap between the outer self, the kind, easygoing person everyone loves, and the inner self, which is slowly suffocating. If you recognize these patterns in yourself, you might feel a sense of deep identification, but also, likely, a profound sense of exhaustion. To understand why this happens, why kindness becomes a compulsion rather than a choice, we must return to the beginning. We must look at the roots of this behavior. We are often taught that kindness is a virtue, and it is. But for many chronically kind people, kindness was not just a moral choice. It was a survival strategy. It is highly likely that they grew up in environments where love was conditional. Perhaps they had a parent who was emotionally volatile, unpredictable, or narcissistic. In such an environment, the child learns very quickly that their needs, their emotions, especially the negative ones like anger or sadness, are dangerous. Expressing disagreement might lead to rage, emotional withdrawal, or punishment. So, the child adapts. They learn to become the easy child, the good child, the peacemaker. They learn that by suppressing their own needs and focusing entirely on keeping others happy, they can minimize conflict and secure the affection they desperately crave. Kindness becomes their armor. Agreeableness becomes their shield. From a psychological perspective, this behavior is not who they truly are. It is a defense mechanism. Specifically, it often falls under the category of the fawn response. We are familiar with fight, flight, or freeze as responses to threat, but fawning is the fourth, less recognized response. It means trying to appease the threat by merging with their demands, needs, and desires. If I can make you happy, you won't hurt me. If I can be indispensable to you, you won't abandon me. This association buries itself deep within the nervous system. The very thought of conflict or disapproval triggers a survival response, and the nervous system defaults to kindness as the quickest way to regain safety. This is why it feels so difficult to change. It's not just a bad habit. It's a deeply ingrained trauma response. Furthermore, society reinforces this behavior. We praise those who self-sacrifice. The cultural narrative often equates goodness with self-erasure. We are told that being selfish is the ultimate sin, but this creates a dangerous confusion between healthy self-interest and narcissism. The strategy that once saved you as a child, being hyper-tuned to others and minimizing your own presence, is now the very thing that is destroying you as an adult. The cost of chronic kindness is enormous, and it manifests in several devastating ways. The first cost is the loss of identity. When your entire life is oriented around the needs and expectations of others, you lose touch with your own desires. If someone asks you what you want, you genuinely might not know. Your preferences, your passions, your purpose, they become buried under layers of obligation and people-pleasing. You become a stranger in your own skin, an actor playing a role that no longer fits, but you don't know how to exit the stage. The second cost is profound exhaustion and burnout. Psychologists call it compassion fatigue. It's what happens when you give empathy until you run dry. Kindness without boundaries is like trying to water every garden in the world with a single well. Eventually, the well runs dry, and the gardener collapses. This exhaustion isn't just emotional, it's physical. Chronic stress from hypervigilance and suppressed emotions leads to weakened immune systems, digestive issues, chronic pain, and anxiety disorders. Your body keeps the score, and it screams in pain when you continuously betray yourself. The third, and perhaps darkest cost, is the accumulation of resentment. The chronically kind person lives with a silent voice that whispers, "What about me? When is it my turn?" But this voice is quickly silenced by guilt. They feel ashamed for even thinking about their own needs. When you suppress your needs, when you deny your anger in the name of kindness, those emotions don't disappear. They ferment. They collect in the shadows. This is where the monster within emerges. The resentment leaks out in passive-aggressive comments, in subtle manipulations, or in sudden, explosive outbursts of rage over something seemingly small. They are shocked by their own behavior, which further reinforces their belief that they must suppress their bad emotions and double down on kindness. Furthermore, chronic kindness creates a paradox in relationships. You teach people how to treat you. When you are always available, always agreeable, always willing to sacrifice, you teach others that your needs are secondary, that your feelings are negotiable. People stop asking what you want because they assume you will always adjust to them. The kinder you are in this self-erasing way, the more invisible you become, and invisibility is not peace. It is loneliness dressed up in politeness. This behavior can also attract manipulative individuals who thrive on the endless supply of energy the kind person provides. This is what psychologists call pathological altruism. When the desire to help actually causes harm to the giver, it looks noble on the surface, but it is corrosive underneath. If you have felt this, the exhaustion, the resentment, the sense of being invisible, you are not broken. You are not defective. What you are experiencing is the natural consequence of prioritizing survival through pleasing over authenticity. The question then becomes, how do we embrace kindness without letting it destroy us? How do we shift from compulsive kindness to authentic compassion? The path to healing lies not in becoming selfish or cold, but in redefining what kindness truly means. True kindness must begin with you. This is not a cliché. It is a necessity for well-being. Think of the airplane safety instruction. Put your own oxygen mask on first before assisting others. Why? Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you are useless to everyone. The same principle applies to emotional energy and empathy. If your kindness is leaving you depleted, resentful, and exhausted, it is not sustainable. It is performance, not presence. The first step on this path is awareness. Practice the pause. When someone asks something of you, resist the urge to say yes immediately. This automatic response is your survival brain taking over. Create space between the request and your response. Say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you," or simply, "I need a moment to think about that." In this pause, check in with your body. Do you feel tension in your chest, a knot in your stomach? These are signals that your body is anticipating an obligation, not a joyful opportunity. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of genuine desire or out of fear of rejection, guilt, or obligation? The second step is learning the power of the gentle no. Boundaries are the core of healing. For many kind people, boundaries feel terrifying. They feel like walls that shut people out, but in reality, boundaries are not walls. They are clear lines that define where you end and another person begins. A boundary is an act of honesty. It says, this is what I can give sustainably, and this is what I cannot. Start small. Say no to an extra task at work. Say no to a social event you don't want to attend. Your no can be compassionate. I care about you, but I don't have the capacity right now. Or, thank you for asking, but I can't take this on. Be prepared for pushback. When you change the rules of engagement, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will often react negatively. They might call you selfish. They might try to guilt trip you. This is a crucial test. You must learn to tolerate their discomfort without rushing in to fix it. Their reaction is their responsibility, not yours. The third step is reframing your worth. This is perhaps the hardest part. You must decouple your identity from your utility. Your value is not determined by how much you give away, how agreeable you are, or how many people rely on you. Your value is intrinsic. You are worthy of love and belonging simply because you exist. This requires active self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness you so readily offer others. When you make a mistake, instead of criticizing yourself harshly, offer understanding. When you are tired, allow yourself to rest without guilt. The fourth step is to reconnect with the self you have abandoned. Tend to your own garden. What brings you joy? What energizes you? What did you love before the world told you who you should be? Start integrating these activities into your life. This is not self-indulgence. It is reclaiming your identity. When you live from a place of fullness rather than scarcity, your kindness changes. It becomes a gift rather than a transaction. It flows from abundance, not from emptiness. Finally, allow yourself to feel the harder emotions. Anger, frustration, disappointment. These are not enemies of kindness. They are essential messengers. Your anger tells you when a boundary has been crossed. Your frustration tells you when your needs are being ignored. If you suppress them, they morph into the monster of resentment. But if you listen to them, they become guides pointing you toward balance and authenticity. The journey of the chronically kind person is to move from fear to freedom. It is the process of removing the mask, the smile worn to cover exhaustion, the yes given to avoid conflict, the generosity performed to prove worth. The real monster within kind people is not their anger or their boundaries. The real monster is self-neglect. It is the belief that everyone else deserves care except for them. But you are not broken because you had to prioritize survival. You are not selfish because you have needs. You are simply someone who learned to carry too much for too long in an attempt to earn the love that was already your birthright. The irony is that when you finally set down the burden, when you start honoring your own needs, your capacity for genuine kindness doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes stronger, cleaner, more radiant. It is kindness that inspires rather than exhausts. It is the kindness that comes from overflow, not depletion. So, the next time you feel the pull toward self-erasure, remember that compassion does not mean martyrdom. It means truth. Remember that you deserve the peace you try so hard to give to others. And know that you are not alone on this journey from performance to presence.